Look at this. Welcome once again to beautiful, steamy Ormond Beach, Florida, everybody. My name's JG Pasterjack. This is another edition of Grassroots Motorsports Live, presented by CRC Industries. We got literally and figuratively cool stuff for you tonight. You may notice I got sleeves on. It's not because trying out a new look. It's because I'm wearing a Chillout Systems cooling shirt under here. What's the official name of this shirt, Charles?
This one is the. Would you like me to come on?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I'm going to say some more stuff, but what's the official name of this garment?
That's our Pro Series that we have on right now.
The Pro Series cooling shirt. This is Charles Klein from Chillout Systems, everybody. We're going to be talking to him in just a minute. Welcome. He sampled some of our fine local seafood. Before we do that, though, I want to tell everybody, make sure. So if you're watching on YouTube, I got you over here. If you're watching on Facebook, I got you right down here. I see some of our regular friends already participating. A lot of weird stuff going on social media right now. A lot of people getting bounced off their channels. A lot of people getting demonetized. All the algorithms are all screwed up. So what that means to us is, if you are watching on whatever network you are watching on, please take the time to go hit that like button and go hit that share button and let the companies that you're watching through know that you are consuming our content. It actually really, really means a lot to us and how they process our videos, so we would appreciate that. We'd also appreciate you guys giving a little bit of shout out to the folks that make this show possible. Talking about our friends from CRC Industries on the web at crcindustries.com. Even better, at a retailer somewhere near you, Lowe's, Home Depot, Harbor Freight, Walmart. I don't care where you go, you're going to see those cans of Brake Clean there. You're going to see those cans of Freeze Off. You're going to see those great cans of CRC stuff. And when you buy it, you're getting a great product. You're also giving a little bit back to our world. Also, our friends from Coney Shocks, coney-na.com on the web, or at great retailers like Tire Rack. You need shocks for your tow vehicle, for your daily driver, for your track car, for your race car. Don't care what it is, Coney has a shock for it. Give them a call or check them out at places like Tire Rack. Give them a call, though. You might get to talk to Lee Grimes. He's a great guy. Provided a lot of great information for this show. We appreciate having them aboard. And finally, Specialty Products Corporation, SPC Alignment, on the web. If you're building an autocross car, if you're building a track car, they probably have suspension pieces for you, control arms, camber kits, roll center adjusters, whatever you need to make sure your alignment is where it needs to be. SPC has it. Also, coming up, we're going to have big news about next week's shows. They're going to be very, very cool. Stick around for that. But in the meantime, let us get going with the official introduction of the guest. I'm going to see who's here tonight. I see a lot of our top fans, Ted and Richard, and of course Dinesh is here as always. Let's say hi to Charles. Welcome aboard. Thanks for consuming some local seafood. I hope that works out for you. And so this is exciting. We are on this show. The folks that watch the show a lot know that well, I'm a sucker for a good idea. And I'm also a guy that does not think that driver comfort is talked about enough in the world of motorsports. There's this image that you get into a race car and it's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be miserable. You know, your seat's supposed to poke you in the back, and you're supposed to have this horrible time while you're doing this amazing thing. It's incredibly mentally strenuous, but it doesn't have to be that way. And if longtime viewers of the show know that we built a budget driver cooling system. Gosh, Chris, how long ago? That was over a year ago, wasn't it? Yeah. So we built a budget driver cooling system because we take driver comfort seriously. But there were some limitations with that system. It was an ice-based system. And the problem with any sort of ice-based driver cooling is it's only as good as the ice you're putting in it. And anybody that's tried to transport, anybody who's seen Mosquito Coast knows that if you try and transport ice from place to place without proper storage, ice doesn't last very long. Right. In the case of Mosquito Coast, you end up trying to murder your entire family eventually because your ice does not last very long. So we have solved that problem here with the Chillout Systems Quantum Cooler. And I've talked a lot, but let's talk to Charles a little bit. Well, first off, welcome, and tell us a little bit about you, about Chillout. How did you come to be in this industry?
Well, I really got into track days. Actually, one of my favorite ones, Jay Zilla, gearing up for it actually Friday. And so got a lot of work to do tomorrow when I get back home,
Yeah.
obviously, get the cars ready. But, a lot of people ask me, they're like, you have a car, it's got air conditioning, and I don't understand why you need this, why you need a cooling system in it. But windows are down on track days, engines at 100%, cooking us in this thing. And, so I started with an ice-based system. I got the small, little ice box with the shirts, with the tubes, and I tried to do that. Actually, first time I went to the track, I brought one cooler full of ice.
Yeah.
I had no idea that this thing was going to last 20, 25 minutes. I had no idea that the track wouldn't have ice, which still blows my mind. Seems like they would be capitalizing on that. But, I just figured there had to be a better way. And so I started to kind of do some research. I got some of my employees involved, and, the idea grew. And we actually started with a different concept. We started with a pelter-based system, and it just wasn't powerful enough. Those systems aren't strong enough when you need it the most. 120, 130 degrees, they don't work. They're great at 70 degrees, but at 70 degrees, who needs the system? So anyway, we developed this system, and it was a lot of work. Obviously, it was a lot of work. There's parts from all over the world in this system, and a lot of people involved, and yeah.
And so you're telling us earlier your background is mostly marketing, which and actually giving the shout out to your buddy at Jayzilla, very much a solid marketing move there. So
Thank you.
Good there. So
initial background. Now it's been 15 years of manufacturing.
Mm-hmm. So were you trying to get into the racing industry?
Absolutely.
Or were you getting into motorsports yourself and you wanted to contribute to
right?
To this?
I wanted to get closer to motorsports myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to have a way to justify the amount of money I was spending, the amount of time I was spending at the racetrack, on the racetrack. And also the people are really awesome. Everybody I've met in this industry has been super cool, and they've been a lot of help. They've been a lot of help with the development of this product. So just in general, I just wanted to be, closer to racing.
Awesome. We've got some questions coming in about tech specs, power consumption. We're going to get to all of that stuff eventually. We'll talk about all the technical aspects, how to install it, where to put it, specifics on how to make it work the best. Stick around. We'll be getting to that stuff. But before we talk about that, though, let's see what our friend Steven has to say. When is someone going to make cooled underwear? My taint sweats like frying bologna after 30. So I see where you're going with that. And I kind of said the same thing. And we talked about that earlier. So this is, most traditional cooling systems only cool your upper body and sort of ignore the lower body.
We're working on the ball cooler.
Yeah, okay.
The ball cooler's on the way.
I would be worried. You have all this cool air up here, you have all this warm air down here. I'd be worried about like a hurricane over your groin, basically. But that's up to you. But you said the Army did some research.
Absolutely. I made you some notes because
and there's some great notes here. So
I can tell you, but let me jump in.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so
that was interesting.
The Army did develop the shirts that we're working with, and
the U.S. Army.
U.S. Army.
Okay.
U.S. Army is designed for Apache helicopter pilots originally, and the interesting part about this, I think the most interesting is since people are used to using ice-based systems, the first thing they think is I need 40 degree or 38 degree, fluid pumping through these shirts in order to stay cool. When that was found to be the most counterintuitive part of what the Army has found out. So they found that by actually raising the temperature closer to ambient, they were keeping the capillaries from closing, which was restricting the blood flow to the core. Absolutely doing what you don't want to happen. So you were getting the perception of cool by cooling your skin.
Because your core temperature is 98.6.
And then you get this whole numbing feeling because the blood flow is not there, and therefore you're shutting off connection from the skin to the core. So it's just completely.
And you also you made this point earlier. We're talking before the show, and I had never really kind of put this together. In an ice-based system, your body is part of the cooling circuit. You are expending a lot of that heat energy into your body. So if you run that ice, which is only going to be at 32 degrees, against your body, you're going to lose all of that heat energy. The ice is going to melt, and it's never going to change temperatures.
It's definitely a waste. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about why driver cooling is important. And you gave me some notes here. And this is something we've kind of talked about before. But what are some of the physiological effects of heat on performance? Because I've lived in Florida my whole life, so
Yeah.
I know how miserable I am from
Absolutely.
April to October. So we got some notes here, but just start talking while I get caught up on this stuff.
I think one thing that everybody knows the most is sweating.
Yeah.
So sweating, especially this is mostly towards our enduro guys, but sweating at 2%, as you see in the notes, at 2%, you have something like 20% more mistakes that happen over the course of an hour.
Yeah.
Just at 2% less hydration. They consider that, it's a huge. When you're talking milliseconds and seconds when you're driving, it's a big number. Just from simple mistakes.
Yeah, this is a great fact right here. When ambient temperature is above core temperature, half of your blood is going to your skin for cooling.
Right.
So that's half your blood that's not going to your brain to make decisions. It's
Absolutely.
not going to your muscles to fight fatigue or to work the wheel and pedals.
Yeah. So we're trying to fix that. That's exactly what we're doing.
And we got some stats here from NASA. This is the space NASA, not the car NASA. I'm assuming.
Yeah, space. NASA.
At 50, at temperatures of 80 degrees Fahrenheit, a person will make 5 errors an hour and 19 mistakes per 3 hours. At 90 degrees, that nearly doubles actually. Operator made 9 mistakes per hour versus 5, and 27 mistakes per 3 hours. At 95 degrees, oh wow! So from 80 to 90 degrees,
Big jump.
they almost doubled. From 90 to 95 degrees, it's a factor of 5. So at 95 degrees, 60 mistakes per hour and 138 in 3 hours. So it's probably mid 80s in here right now. So we can expect to make between 8 and 10 mistakes during the course of this show. I like those odds. But that's shocking that a 5-degree jump from 90 to 95 degrees multiplied the number of mistakes by more than 5. And you've measured a lot of race cars now. What's the average temperature inside a race car?
It's hard to say.
It's way more than 95 degrees.
I think most people don't realize how hot it is. In fact, when we first started developing the system, people were telling us their inside of their car was about 130, 140 degrees. Some cars are 160, 170 degrees towards the floorboard, where your legs are, where your feet are. Some people, I'm sure some have had this happen themselves, where their shoes are melting on the bottom of the floorboard.
Jesus.
So obviously it's cooler up towards the top, but down where your torso and your body, your legs are, we're seeing temperatures upwards of 160 degrees. It's hard to believe, but fortunately you have that race suit on.
Yeah.
To protect you from a lot of it.
Fortunately and unfortunately, because the race suit is going to protect you from some of the ambient heat.
Yep.
But that's a two-way street because it's
Absolutely,
also insulating a lot of the body temperature.
What your body's
that's
trying to sweat
already
off,
inside
absolutely,
there. I mean, I ran an event at Sebring this weekend, and Sebring, under best conditions, is horrific. But in June in Florida, it's just completely awful. So when you're talking about something like this, what is actually, speaking of Sebring, this is a great question here. Dinesh wants to know, how does humidity affect any of those numbers? I mean, I would
absolutely does affect
just
it,
because
yeah.
it's a conductor basically.
Sure. No, it
multiplying.
absolutely affects it. The system works great though. We designed it for humidity. We designed it for extreme vibration, and it powers through that. I mean, the system operates up to 140 degrees. Of course, we try to duct it in situations like that. We try to make sure we bring in the fresh air, duct the system so that it's definitely has its limitations. But we're able to get around those by bringing in fresh air. Or if you're mounting it to the floor pan and the floor pan's 200 degrees, obviously we need to put spacers in between the floor pan and protect the system.
So let's talk a little bit about what the system actually is, because
Sure.
I'm getting all excited and getting ahead of myself, because the sooner I get through this, the sooner I can actually plug it in and cool off a little bit. But this is a self-contained cooling system. It's a closed circuit system. There are no consumables involved in this, whereas with an ice-based system, obviously your ice is a...
We have a little bit of consumables, to be fair.
Well, but they're only consumable in that you're going to spill them, or you're going to...
Exactly.
It's not designed...
A bag of that lasts you over a year.
Yeah,
sure.
It's not designed to wear out. So it's a totally closed circuit system. We've had a few questions about power requirements now. We were running
most people's biggest concern.
Yeah, I mean, we were running this thing full blast on the bench a few minutes ago, and it was drawing 12 amps.
12, 14 amps.
So what do you normally recommend people power this with, or or what do you recommend they know about their power system before you start working about power?
They should definitely test their power system. I think one of the first things I told you when I came in the garage is they actually make these now. They used to only make these for AC, but now they make them for DC. You just clamp over the wire.
Cool.
So easy, just go in right behind the alternator.
Keep talking. I have to adjust our YouTube feed over here.
And actually test your alternator. A lot of the race cars, the race car drivers, what they don't realize is that their power system isn't very good. You know, they're not using AC. They're not running headlights most of the time. And you know, their alternator is kind of just limping by. It's definitely enough to power the fuel system, the ECU. But when you add something like this that's going to pull 20 amps max, you know, 28 amps in worst case scenario, it can put a real strain on your system. So it's important that before you put the system in and make sure that your alternator can support it. It's not so much a factor with the battery, because as long as the car is running and you got a 60, 75 amp alternator, you're not going to have any problems.
Yeah, and we actually tested the Corvette here, and it was at idle. It was 70,
125.
Yeah, just above idle. It was 125. So we readjusted our YouTube over here, and the maze effect is complaining already. So, but those are valid concerns that you know. We built a budget cooling system for under a couple $100, but it was ice based. And from somebody who's tried to use this before, I would say, you know, this is not what I call a cheap system. But if you look at having used an ice-based system now,
yeah,
the cost of it being a giant pain in the ass, this starts to seem really, really reasonable, because an ice-based system is only as good as your ability to store ice. So
right.
can you duplicate the effect of this on a serious budget? Yes, you can. We have a live show and a complete video that shows you how to do it. But a bigger question is, how long can you store that ice? Can you regulate the temperature of that ice? And the answer is no, because it's ice. And so, is that the main problem you were trying to solve with this? Was just how do we take this
originally
heavily consumable system and turn it into a lossless system?
I thought that it was ugly, heavy,
yeah,
impossible to keep the ice, like you said. At first, I wasn't trailering my car, so everything that I brought to the track was either in the car or driving in the car itself. So there wasn't room for it. It's a very small trunk on the car, and you know, it just wasn't an option. So yeah, originally it was more about, you know, reducing the ice situation. But once we deep dived into actually creating, you know, a system with the apparel, we found out actually the ice was counterintuitive. That was the most important part. So I don't have another brand here to show you or to compare, but I mean, you can tell by looking at this shirt, we have 4 times more tubing than...
I do, but
you do? Okay, let's see it.
We'll hide the name to protect the innocent.
Let's see it.
But
you know, it's a lot more coverage on your torso, which just happens to be the most important part of your body to keep cool. So I feel like it's kind of like sticking your legs in the pool versus jumping in full blast. It just feels totally different.
So nothing against the folks who made the shirt. It was a $80 or $90 shirt. It was very, very affordable. But if you look at how much tubing is on there versus yours.
Yeah, it's 160 feet.
Yeah.
So what most people are using is 40 feet of tubing.
Okay.
So it's 4 times the amount of tubing on one shirt. So the important part about that is ice can't be regulated. The only time it's regulated is as it starts to die off. As it melts off, the temperature is going to go up. And there's a point where that's actually more comfortable, and then it's just hot.
Right.
So this is regulated. You set it to the temperature that you like. It's exactly where you want it. It feels more like air conditioning. It doesn't feel like, you know, freezing cold on your skin. You still get the circulation that you would get also by keeping it at 50 or 60 degrees that you wouldn't get with the ice. The ice completely stops blood flow, nearly completely stops blood flow, as you can see from the tests that we have. And this, you're still getting not just the blood flow, but you're getting the coverage. So you're getting the comfort level, but you're also getting the actual core cooling.
So yeah, I think to fully address the affordable budget ice system versus a little bit more pricey closed loop system. If I was running twice a year, I'll figure it out with the ice. I think if I'm running 10 times a year, especially if I'm alone, if I'm going to a track event by myself, where between every session I've got to get my belts organized, get my helmet on, get my safety gear on, and then I got to figure out where to get ice and where to fill that thing up, because a cooler full of ice at Sebring, 95-degree heat in June, June, July, August in Florida, is not going to last you all day. So you're going to have to be replenishing that. If it's just you, by the afternoon sessions, screw it, I'm just going to sweat. That's it. This thing, you hop in the car and you hit the button and it works. So that's from a driver perspective, I think that's what you're paying for. And even from like a budget enduro team, somebody running Champ Car or Lemons or AER or some.
Yeah,
these are not professional crews. These are hobbyists.
Sure.
And every time you got to change ice, that's one more thing to forget. That's water on the floor of the car. If I can press a button and solve a problem, that's worth something.
Well, and the weight savings alone too.
Yeah,
you're 10.5 pounds for our system versus 30, depending on which cooler size you have. But it's a significant weight savings, which isn't important to a lot of people, but others it's super important. And that's why we make some of our we make carbon fiber mounting plates and carbon fiber parts for the system in case you do want to have those weight savings. Of course, it's a bit of an upcharge. Not so bad, but a little bit of an upcharge. And but again, it's not so much. It's a lot of convenience factor, but it's hugely better for cooling and actually keeping you alert and keeping you from having any fatigue. So that you're going to get with like an ice-based system.
So we talked about this on the phone the other day. Warren wants to know how well would this work for ice racing in Minnesota. You're on your own, Warren, but that's basically a heat pump in there. I mean, theoretically, I guess you could reverse cycle it.
You could,
but
not ours. It's not. It's actually not. It can't.
I think the real answer is there are plenty of other heat sources in a race car.
Heat's easy.
Yeah,
it's not a problem.
Heat shouldn't be
it's
a
the
problem.
cold that's the problem. Yeah.
I would. Well, I say this, but ice racing in Minnesota. I mean, for me, anything below you're in Atlanta too, so anything below about 50 is like when I have to put on a hoodie. That's unreasonable. My frame of reference is a little bit skewed, but yeah, I'm sure there are. It's much easier to create heat than it is to create coolant.
For sure.
So take me through the development process this a little bit. I mean, you've got a pretty varied background from your manufacturing interests, which is really interesting stuff. You had this idea, like I want to build this cooling system for drivers. What was your development process like? What type of people did you get involved?
Yeah, there was a lot of people involved. It definitely wasn't my design. It was my idea. It took a lot of different people. So we have engineers in everywhere from Argentina to China to Atlanta, Georgia. I used a lot of my staff from my current companies to help with the design, from the packaging to the actual design of the box itself. But a lot of this really comes from development from the military. The rotary compressor that's inside was developed for telecommunications cooling, and it's actually for laser cooling.
Oh wow!
And so a lot of mobile command unit installation.
So those are small, high voltage,
Absolutely.
high localized heat.
And also tight environments. Weight's an issue, power's an issue. They obviously square feet or square inches is this, in this case. So this compressor is 5 times more powerful than at its size than what you would find in a refrigerator.
So so this is you didn't just find a wrecked motorhome and pull the refrigerator.
Well, and also the great thing about the rotary compressors is they can be mounted sideways, upside down. They can be shaken and beaten, and they withstand just about any vibration. So, and also shock. We actually, unfortunately, were in a car last week that had a pretty nasty wreck, and the system was still running. Of course, we were happy, but the driver wasn't so happy about the car. But it's really robust, and
it was a good test for you guys.
It's designed to last. It's designed to last a long time. So we call it an affordable. So you said it's not economical, but I think it's within reach.
Well, I mean, and I think it's not. Look, there are varying degrees of everything. I mean, affordable to one person is out of reach for another.
Sure.
But there's while this, so all in, if I'm starting from nothing, what am I going to spend on something like this?
You could get into the system with everything you need if you don't have a cooling system already,
Yeah.
because a lot of the parts are interchangeable from your other system. Like if you want to use your cool shirt or your fast shirt or your, I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It
But
was
yeah, so you could use it. But a big part of why the system works so well is because of the apparel. But if you want to just have a cold shirt and you feel like that's enough for you, then absolutely you can use your fittings, your tubes, all of that stuff. You can make it work with the system. You could just buy the cooler and the coolant. So you really can get into the system for under $2,300.
Okay.
But to do it right, to go big, go home, $3,000, you got the best shirt, all of our tubes, all of our fittings, extra coolant. About $3,000 will get you, sorted.
Which to some people, that's gonna. I mean, that's a set and a half of tires for this.
Yeah.
But it's also a one-time cost,
Mm-hmm.
and it's again, I see it as a difference between if this is something you're doing every weekend, if this is something that you want to take any sort of maintenance out of, that starts looking really, really reasonable. And like as a single piece of equipment for a one-time, don't have to worry about it ever again cost. That's a pretty reasonable number, I think, considering what you get.
We keep getting a lot of questions about why doesn't he want to use his AC? So that's a good question. I started in I have a Mercedes GTR, very well insulated car. AC works amazing.
Yeah.
Until you put it on track at full blast with the windows down, which you have to have the windows down on track days. It's hot. It's hot. The carpet gets so hot. You can't even touch the console. It gets so hot.
So this still has a AC as well. And actually, you know what? I will show you the exact reason that you don't use AC is this right here. This is the nicest driver suit I have ever owned. It's the coolest, lightest driver suit I've ever owned. This is a Race Whip Chevron 5, by the way, because I'm pretty good at the marketing too there, smart guy. But it is very well insulated by design. It is very well,
right.
It is very effective at keeping heat outside of you, but also keeping heat inside of you.
So yeah, absolutely hot inside this car. Yeah. So AC just, sure, it helped. I mean, it'd blow all the vents at my face, but even still, you have a helmet on, like it's just uncomfortable. It's really, really uncomfortable. And I don't know about you, but I get a lot of sweat in my eyes. Yeah. It starts dripping down my brows. And, if you could wear a shirt that it actually reduces your body temperature enough to actually keep you from sweating so profusely, to keep the sweat out of your eyes, I mean, that's huge.
So we're not going to talk about Lloyd's balls anymore. That's it. That's enough of that. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. I got some housekeeping to do. When we come back, I'm finally going to plug this thing in again. And if it, when it got here, I bench tested it a little bit. I saw what it did. I'm very excited that's fun actually. I'm very excited to get this thing plugged in, and I want you to show me what's going to go in the car.
Okay.
In the meantime, though, first let me tell you about next week, because I am super excited about it. Oh, here I'll show you. I have a piece of paper to show everybody right in here. Oh, look at this. I cannot believe they gave this to us. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, is the Nürburgring 24-hour, the ADAC total 24 hours of Nürburgring. We will be there. This is a video permit. These are very, very difficult to get. What this means is we will be able to bring you guys video coverage from the event, both live and pre-recorded, and we will also have live streams, the live broadcast streams that the event is sending out to whatever TV networks are carrying them. We will simulcast those on our Facebook, on our YouTube, and on grassrootsmotorsports.com. This is kind of a big deal. This was not easy to get. Our friends at Hyundai actually helped us out quite a bit getting this year. So what I want you to do is every time you see us live from the Nürburgring next week, as the kids say, smash that like button, annihilate that share button, decimate the subscribe button. The more you participate in those feeds, the better chance we have of doing it later. And I am really excited. That's one of my favorite races anywhere. I'm really excited to be able to give you guys live looks at what's going on there and be able to provide all that coverage for you. So that is happening next week. Yeah, Dash says make sure the cameras actually work this time. So true story, I told you about actually getting to race at the Nürburgring in 2015. My onboard camera failed. So I turned the thing on when I started my stint, and when I got out of the car, I pulled it and it had just bricked. So it's like it never happened. I still have the memories though. A lot of fat load of good those did me. But so yes, I will make sure everything works. But yeah, we hope you guys join us next week. We're very excited about that. Now, because there's a 6-hour time difference, and because we're going to be going live at at various times, best way to find out when that stuff is happening is text GRM Live, GRMLIVE, to 31996. We'll send you updates about the show. If you were a subscriber already, you found out Charles was coming on tonight. Never going to send you any commercial messages, just going to send you show updates, schedule updates, let you know what's going on. It goes right to your phone so you know when to join us. Folks, also, I would like you to take a moment to think about the folks that make this show possible. Talking about our friends from CRC Industries on the web at crcindustries.com. On my shelf over there behind that lovely but very, very warm driver's suit, we have all of our CRC products. They're getting a little thumbprinty, a little gross over there because those are not fancy Hollywood props. Those are actual useful pieces of the shop here that we use all the time. Not just because they are great, although they are, but also because they support this world we live in. And events like our $2,000 challenge coming up in October, registration is open for that as well. Also, our friends at Coney Shocks, coney-na.com on the web. And Kevin, I see Kevin celebrating over there. What happened? Something good?
Sold.
Nothing. Kevin sold something. See, that's one more week we get to stay on the air. I feel like we're doing a home shopping network now. Where was it? Oh yeah, coney-na.com on the web. You need shocks for your tow vehicle, you need shocks for your daily driver, for your track car, for your race car. Coney's got them, coney-na.com on the web, or at great retailers like Tire Rack and SPC Industries. If you are building an SSC car, a solo spec coupe, you're going to be spending a lot of time in the SPC catalog, spcalignment.com on the web. If you need camber adjustment equipment, if you need control arms, if you need roll center corrections, SPC has it, spcalignment.com on the web. And that is it. So, yeah, basically join us next week. We're really, really excited about that. Let's get this baby hooked up. So, because I'm sweating my ass off over here.
Okay.
But so first off, tell me, I ordered this thing. What's going to show up, and where does it need to go in my car? What considerations are we going to have as far as location or operation and powering the thing? Because everybody's asking about power.
Well, we tested your alternator.
Yeah.
It's good, right?
70 amps at idle. So
your battery's a little small, but we don't need the battery. The alternator's going to run the system ultimately. It's great if you have a big battery because you can pre-cool the system on the grid or in the paddock, or and it's awesome to be able to do that. And well, actually, this is one of the hacks I wanted to show everybody. We took one of the shirt connectors. Actually, we just made a loop. It's all wet from running it, the condensation, but we just made a loop so that we're able to actually cool all the hoses, let the system run, and chill down. Because when you're wearing the shirt all day long and you're not in the car, it's 98.6 degrees.
The shirt's great. The shirt without the stuff going through it,
not so good.
A little stuffy.
No, I mean, it's Nomex. It's not great.
You look very comfortable, and my man's shoe game is on point. Over
you like
here,
that?
By the way,
Yeah.
those.
Thanks. So yeah, it's an easy hack, and it's awesome because you could cool the system. So pop in the car, plug in that 98.6 degree shirt, hitting that 40 degree water. If you crank it down all the way, feels awesome.
So there is a quantity of propylene glycol coolant that circulates through this. How much actual coolant is in a full system?
You can actually run this at a 50% ratio of distilled water to the coolant, or you can run the coolant 100%.
Okay.
Originally, we wanted to run the coolant at 100% of our blend, which is 50% water, 50% fungicide, propylene glycol, and some other interesting things, not so interesting things, I should say. But you know, you don't need this thing it's not like we're running this inside of a 65 degree, 70 degree house. This is in a car. So you don't really need that type of freeze protection. So 25%, which would be 50% this and 50% of the distilled water would be great. Again, that's really your only consumable with the system. But obviously you need the coolant, you need the cooler. Cooler comes with a mounting plate, comes with the power cord here, which is 8 gauge. And what else do you need? I guess you need a shirt, whether you have ours or someone else's. And then in order to connect the shirt to our system, you'll need one of these adapters.
So let's take a look at our power here. So this is like a number 8
it's 8 gauge
wire going to our power. And what does it come with as far as hookup? I saw there was a relay in here that we got.
That is it. So obviously every car is different. There's a different installation for every vehicle, however you want to do it, whether you're using our relay or something more sophisticated. We do have these available. It doesn't come with any of that because honestly, if we provided all of the nuts and bolts and screws and relays, it would be another box this big.
But you could make that stuff happen.
Absolutely, we can help you out. And everybody that buys a system, we try to talk to them on the phone. Whether it's them or the installer, we want to make sure that they're putting it in the right place, especially since it's so new. So one of the questions you asked me, you know, as far as installing in the car is, you know, you want to put it in the coolest, freshest air, you know, place that's coolest and getting the freshest air. It's not always a possibility, you know. So that being said, we created this duct here. Let me grab where's the other system? Here we go.
Yeah,
this is what it looks like without the duct on it. So this is your system. But in most cases, you're going to need, put this away. You're going to need this duct. We also have another carbon fiber duct that has a 45 degree angle on it.
So because ultimately it's a heat exchanger, so the cooler air that's
cooler air
into it, the more efficient,
and the lower the temperature can be if you want it to be. But you know, you gotta understand the limitations of it. You can't put this in a trunk and have it be a closed trunk and expect this thing to continue to cool, because it's moving the heat from your body, it's moving the heat from your car as well. It's any heat, you know, it's gonna expel that into the trunk. So over time, it's gonna climb 120, 130, 140 degrees, and you're gonna find that the cooling is not where you want it to be.
So let's actually fire it up, because I want everybody to hear it run or hear how quiet it is, basically.
Sure. So you got to make sure these are plugged in. There you go.
So one thing I was a little concerned about. So yeah, now it's running. I was a little concerned about since this is a heat exchanger, it's basically like a miniature air conditioner.
Right.
How much hot air is it exhausting out of here? Are we kind of defeating? Is it defeating its own purpose?
We get a lot of questions about that, and it's a very good question. So the system itself doesn't produce that much heat. It actually hardly produces any heat. It's almost immeasurable by the human hand. But if you put the temperature gauge in front of it, you would see a bit of an increase. However, when you plug the shirt into it and it's pulling the heat away from your body, and it's obviously pulling some away from the ambient air as well, especially in the exposed tube shirts, you'll feel that temperature go right up. So, for instance, you probably feel some heat now.
Not much, though. I mean, honestly,
you'll start to feel it. You'll start to feel it.
It feels like ambient air at this point.
Yeah, you'll feel it as it's cooling this coolant. But once it gets the coolant down to the temperature it's set to, you're not going to feel any heat. Okay. So a lot of people, you know, on track days and things where we have these set up for people to try out, I get that question all the time. So what I do is as the shirt's plugged in it, I unplug the shirt. The system continues to run, and they can feel that the heat's dropping off, you know, as it's cooling down the condenser.
Yeah. So, and it seems like even, I feel a little bit there, but even this is not going to be the primary heat producer inside your car.
No,
again, it's not going to get through that.
It's not going to get through that, and also the 20 pounds you're saving by putting this system in versus an ICE system. Take 5 pounds of that and invest it in some insulation on your transmission tunnel or where your exhaust is running, because that heat soak alone is where your heat's coming from, and that's what you really need to focus on.
Okay, let's Lloyd got a question about customer support, distributors. What's your sales model like at this point? We're order direct.
Absolutely, you can order direct, but we definitely have some distributors. We have some great people we're working with. Like Wine Country Motorsports and Stable Energies. Bob's a great guy, and you know, it's been
I'm gonna go. And by the way, we should note that I unplugged it and it
oh.
turned itself off.
Yeah, so yeah, when you
Automatically?
unplug the system, it's got a flow sensor, it stops. We actually added that because a lot of people were plugging in their system, or at least they thought they plugged it in all the way. They might have had one of the tubes plugged in all the way, and they would start to drive and they're not cooling, and they're calling me, oh, the system's not working, but actually it was just that it wasn't plugged in all the way. This way you get an error message here, and if you have the wireless remote, you can see the message right here. Now it's on. So,
So nice.
feels good, right? It's a nice, you kind of feel the snaking around. So you're bringing the temperature up. So anyway, you'll see it come back down.
What? Sorry. No, it's yeah. You can. There's a lot of tubing for it to go through, so you feel it climb through there. But I mean, instantly, it's like, oh, everything sucked, and now everything's really nice.
It's very comfortable.
Like
Yeah.
the entirety of my life. Yeah.
But especially with not driving, when it gets down to, as it's dropping down now, when it gets down to about 60 degrees, you're like, okay, I've had enough, which is unusual because you think you'd want it colder. It's just I guess because we're so used to ice-based systems.
And it's also there's direct contact there too.
Right.
So it isn't like. It's not like setting your air conditioning on 60 degrees. It's direct body contact.
Well, that's a good point, actually.
At 60 degrees.
These tubes are actually ultra conductive. They're not what you'd find at Lowe's or Home Depot on the shelf, which is actually what this is.
Yeah.
But this is a very conductive tube. It's used for a couple different things, solar, things like that, absorbing heat, and so it works really good for absorbing heat from your body and transferring it and expelling it through the evaporator.
And
condenser,
it's not going to be the hottest thing in your car. It's also not going to be the loudest thing in your car. We're still having a normal conversation here.
Some people say it's loud, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not. But you're not going to hear it if you start your car.
Yeah. Okay, let's see if we got any questions. So, John, one of our top fans actually, asked, and this may be more of a philosophical question going forward. He's asking about rentals, actually.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
Is that a model?
The problem with the rentals is it's like what are we pulling right now on amps? We're at
15 amps. Yeah.
So this isn't something you can plug into your cigarette lighter.
Right.
This is something that requires a hard
some
wire.
dedicated wire.
Yeah, and additionally, you want to mount this. If there's ever an accident, the last thing you want to do is come in and hitting you or hitting your head or hitting, So it's not really something that we can rent yet. We haven't figured that out. So right now it's a no. But we do have a lot of people going to the track with the systems for you to try out. I'll be at the Jzilla track days on Friday at Road Atlanta. Be a lot of people there. I think there's 175 people there this Friday. There'll be obviously a lot of people running our systems there. Atlanta is a big market for us.
Yeah.
I'm there, so that helps. But I think Corsa is going to have. I got to double check and make sure I'm saying that right. I'm pretty sure that they're going to have a system in a couple of their events.
Somebody was asking about that earlier.
Oh,
I think.
yeah, and Discovery Parts. They do a lot of. Have you ever done Discovery Parts, Ron? Yep. They have a display, two systems, and you can come over, try it out, feel the difference. In fact, I was thinking about this. We should actually have one of the competitor shirts hooked to our system so that you could feel what their shirt feels like, and then put on something like this. It's a totally different experience. Well, you know now.
We're going to leave this on for the rest of the show, actually. Honey's got a great question. Safety guidelines for this. Obviously, these shirts, all of the garments you're selling, are SFI rated shirts. Are there any sort of regulations governing any of this stuff safety-wise?
The only thing, well, consider it's not a garment and it's not a safety product. It's not governed, so it's not necessary. There was some issue about Freon, but we got that sorted. There actually used to be a cooling system back in the early 90s that would just release Freon through tubes.
Yes, we used to have one of those. Yeah.
Okay. And so those aren't cool. So we had to get some of those lifted on us.
So what he's talking about is basically it was a system that had a capillary shirt like this but it had a port on it that you hooked up to one of the old school cans of Freon, and every once in a while you just leaned over and went and just juiced this thing up with Freon, and it was great.
And let it slowly escape, and
like you could essentially see the hole open up above you in the ozone.
I don't know why they didn't use nitrogen.
Yeah,
like something. I mean, anything, but yeah, exactly. So.
Probably
so
the
no,
same reason the Hindenburg exploded.
Right now, as far as we know, we're not banned or illegal or in any series, but it's it's a metal box with no flammable components, and it's secured by this mounting plate. Actually, let's show that so people have an idea.
Yeah, that's great.
And also we have
just don't turn it off whatever you do.
Don't turn. So we just have these little pins here. There's the ball lock pins, and they slide into this mounting plate. And this mounting plate, it's actually a little heavy. It's on the heavy side because it's steel. So it's great because if you want to mount it in to a car, you can weld it, you can bolt it down. But if weight's a concern, we have a carbon fiber model that's available that only weighs 5.5 ounces.
But also being steel, there's a lot of potential for conductive heat loss through or
absolutely
conductive temperature, right?
Yes, heat soak, sure.
So are there some insulators you can get from like this?
There is. Of course, we have the built-in one here. We have a 1/4 inch of foam on the bottom, and we have. Well, we suggest if you're going to mount it to the floorboard of the car, 150 degree, 140 degrees. We have some coming as well for the system, but they didn't ship with it. But they're 1 inch spacers, and so you would basically put those in between the floor pan and the car, and they give you a nice air pocket and keep you prevent the heat soak.
So Charles is asking about can it help with regular AC in old cars? Is being a heat pump, can you run some kind of a forced air cooling through there?
I wish I could show you some pictures of some cars where people have done that. So we have a few people who have basically they've taken an oil cooler and they are pumping, instead of pumping oil through it, they're pumping this chilled fluid through it, and they've made an air plenum and have put a fan on it, and they're pumping cool air through it.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of engineers out there, and they're coming up with ways to do that. We don't have anything for it yet. We do have a system with helmet cooling coming. It's on the way. We're waiting on a new compressor that we're developing. It's nearly twice the power of this one. It doesn't exist yet, but it will. And so it'll have, body cooling and helmet cooling. There's just not a way to do it yet with this. It's just, this is the most powerful compressor there is, rotary compressor there is, and we got to accept its limitations.
But it sounds like the concept is valid. Anyway,
oh, absolutely. Great concept. Yeah, no, this is plenty for what you're trying to do here. It was comfortably cool 2 people. But, as far as trying to blow hot air through it, it's just, we want to maintain its integrity as a body.
Good question from Ted over here about running it without the benefit of the alternator. So we have a pretty small battery in this car. It's a 4-pound lithium battery, 15 amps running off something like that. Oh. Yeah, of that. Without the alternator running, how long is something like this going to last in grid, or what type of?
Well, in my car, it'll run for hours. One of my cars, it'll run for hours
with a full-size battery.
It's a full-size battery. It's a factory battery that came with the car. Whereas I have a Miata that I've replaced the battery. It's an 11-pound battery. Braille, am I saying that right? Yeah. It'll run it for 45 minutes.
Oh, wow, okay.
Okay, so a lot of people run the 5-pound Braille. It's similar to what you have, or 7-pound. Safely run it for 10 or 15 minutes. But you got to keep in mind, it also depends on the engine, the starter. You're just trying to start a big V8 versus trying to start a 2-liter 4-cylinder, totally different ballgame. So
if you're in grid for 2 or 3 minutes,
consider your battery. Yeah,
probably not a.
And consider your alternator. You need to
sure. So we're at 52 degrees here.
Yeah, I would.
It's getting.
Do you want to?
Very cold in here.
If you want, if you want to make it really cold, we can turn it down. But this vent, this duct, is great for when you're in the car and trying to keep the obviously the hot air out of it, ducting it in. But this system needs an external blower. If you're going to add a duct to it, it needs to have. These fans aren't designed to pull the air through the duct, and also now through a 3-inch opening. Right. This used to have, obviously the whole front of this is open and it's designed. So you need to use at least 150 cubic feet a minute inline fan in order to bring in the air from outside.
So an aqueduct probably wouldn't be sufficient?
could be, but these are things that people aren't able to measure generally. They're driving the car. They're not able to climb in the back and drive 100. But yeah, no, the blower is the way to go. And we're not talking about anything fancy. If you can get by with the $35 inline blower. We have a blower on the way, however, that's 300 cubic feet a minute. That's more than enough to cool this thing. But the more fresh air you get, the more efficient, the less amps, and that's what.
And I would say in most cars, like if we put one in the Corvette, we're not producing. Yeah, this is a car that still has carpeting, it still has a lot of heat insulation, mounted in clean air inside the car without the plenum on there. That's probably going to be sufficient. In a gutted race car with maybe the exhaust running under the floorboard, where if you mounted this right next to you in the same place you would mount an ice chest, say, on the floorboard above the exhaust, it's not going to be as efficient as it would in clean air somewhere.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. This car, it's going to be great. Yeah. It's going to be excellent. And it's really great for, we're doing a ton of Porsches. Porsches seems to be the biggest portion of our business, and BMWs. And the Porsches, though, rear engine, they're generally sticking them in the passenger floor plan. Okay. We just did a GT3 yesterday, GT3 Cup car. They put it in the back, just right where the passenger seat would be behind it. Yeah. But the engine's in the back. You're not getting all that heat. Sometimes you get a little bit of brake heat if you put it in the lower portion of the floor pan. But it really just depends on the installation.
So I turned it up a little bit. Let's see where our. Yeah, so we're still 13.5, 14 amps. And that.
But keep in mind, heat is a huge factor. So it's not just the system trying to keep it cool. The heat itself actually creates the resistance. Yeah. So you'll see the system, depending on how hot it is outside and how hot the air is coming in, you'll see the system climb to 22, 23 amps. I've seen one time 27 amps. We say 28, just trying to be safe. I've seen 27 amps before at 140 degrees, but that was 140 degrees.
That's pretty hot.
Yeah, it was really hot. Yeah.
So and Scott says this may have changed my life to work in the shop in jorts and Crocs and the Chillout. I'm going to make a wagon for this thing with a bank of batteries and just hook it to my belt and just tow this thing around. This is amazing. And I think the difference. I've worn ice suits before, and they are fantastic. Not for the first 5 minutes because they're painful for the first few minutes. Once that the ice starts to melt a little bit, there's this window of comfort in there. It's great, and then it goes away all of a sudden, and you start working against yourself, where you're heating the water that's then flowing back against your skin. Right. And this thing, the ability to regulate this thing is fantastic.
Yeah, I saw you turned it up. Was it getting too cold?
Yeah, it actually. So you're cranking it down. Yeah, you're gonna. He's trying to freeze me out over here. And it also has this great little remote panel. Does this come with it, or is this optional?
That's optional. Okay. Yeah, it's not bad though. And it's so light and small. We just added some 3M double stick on the back of it, so it's on there. And I mean, you're ready to go. So it shows you the temperature. You can control it fully, whether it's on and off, or just if you feel like it's too cold or too hot, you can take care of
that. Let's see. Somebody says you can force duct it through a vacant tail light or something. So let's see. They want to see the remote panel. Yeah. So Honey's asking about forcing the waste air out through a vacant tail light.
That's what we were just talking about.
Yeah. The waste air is not hot.
Yeah.
I'm not worried at all about the waste air.
No.
Changing the inside of the.
It's not. It's a heat pump. So the heat isn't so much being produced as it is being moved from your body.
Yeah, so, I'm way more interested in getting fresh air to it. But
touch the floor pan of the car, and it's a very, very nominal. I'm going to actually do that for you. I'm going to provide the data, and maybe you can relay it to your people. But we have these awesome.
Yep. It's cool. So we were talking about finding a place to mount it. These are like little.
I need to get these. These are. I need to get them on my website, because for people questioning the install or how to install it, I think it'd be a great idea for them to get. It's a Bluetooth temperature gauge, connects to your phone, and it data logs. So you can stick this anywhere in your car, different places, maybe places that you plan to mount the system, and it'll data log as you drive the temperature. So One of the first things we did when we got one of these months ago is we put it in the trunk of a Miata. It was 70 degrees outside. It was a blistering hot day, but it was 70 degrees outside, and the trunk was 112 degrees.
Wow.
Just sitting in the sun. Okay, so would have never in a million years thought that. So imagine 112 degrees sitting in the sun. This was a closed trunk. This is a 2001 Miata. It's completely sealed, and then having a system like this installed in it that is moving the heat from your body into the trunk. Again, you got to understand that there's limitations to it. You're going to have to duct it.
Yeah.
So these kind of things these are great for figuring out the limitations of the system and making sure that you're.
So Paul wants to know who makes the temp dongle there.
Makes the what?
Who makes our temp sensor?
Oh, you know what? I left the box over here. I think on the back here.
Go grab the box. In the meantime, I will see if we have any questions here. Oh, Scott wants to know any chance of contingency programs for club racers, or you got any sales coming up? Any discount codes?
My distributors will have some sales coming up, and we're working on those on certain. It's going to be more about more on the accessories and the apparel. Really, I'm dying to get people in these shirts. I mean, the system sells itself. I mean, it's everything that we talked about. But the shirts are, it's a big investment. They're expensive.
Yeah.
They are. There's no doubt about it. They're SFI rated. It's expensive. Nomex. They're super high quality. This isn't a Hanes t-shirt with tube sewn on it.
No.
So they're all hand stitched.
I mean, it's a nice SFI undergarment to begin with.
But it's going to last you years compared to what you might have now. So, yeah, I know they're tough. So I definitely want to run some sales on the apparel, especially as we get more in. We're currently sold out. It's which is I guess a good thing. But we want to get it rolling, get it in, and our distributors will actually, most of them have a system in shop. So you can come in, test it out, and you also get a nice fit. So you're not. A lot of people have bought our shirts and found that they didn't fit and sent them back.
Yeah, and as we talked about with even with the ice systems, whenever you're buying a cooling system, buy a smaller shirt than you think you need.
Right.
Because you want it to fit tight. You want there to be
ours run large.
Body contact. I mean, this is a medium that's on me. It's tight. Like I wouldn't show you what this looks like because nobody wants to see that. But this is how you want it to fit. So yeah, I mean, buy and they're
you have a medium, right?
Yeah, and they're very stretchy. So buy at least a size or two smaller.
It's got to be against your Cinder work. It's not going to work unless it's yeah. So and by the way, did we tell this?
No, yeah.
Yeah. So this is this I got these on Amazon. I bought I think 15 or 20 of them, and I sticker them all over the cars as we were doing testing, and really good data. I mean, 200-degree floor pans to 160-degree ambient temperatures inside the car. And actually, a friend of mine, Colin, turned me onto these. So I think they're $17, 14 to $17. Sensor push. Yeah. Anyway, Amazon. I'm going to try to get them and have them available on our website. I just need to figure out how to get them from the company. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is impressive. Yeah, we had some criticism that it's an expensive unit. It's not grassroots. Yes. Can you duplicate the effects of this for a fraction of the price? Under a limited set of circumstances, maybe you can. Can you solve all the problems that this thing solves with an ice-based system? No. I mean, ice melts as fast as it's going to melt. The idea that this is a lossless, maintenance-free system, to me anyway, is the biggest selling point, and it basically takes something that is a massive pain in the ass to be a little more comfortable, and it turns it into a no-brainer.
But how do you feel?
I'm never taking this off.
Right. That's not an ice. If you have an ice-based system on, it's not necessarily comfortable.
Right. Yeah. It's very shocking for those first few minutes.
This is comfortable, and you can make it shocking if you want. But I mean, the fact that you're able to control it,
to regulate it,
and you regulate it, and have all of that coverage, and just to be comfortable, and I think it's a big part of it.
The question about warranty, part replacement cost. Well, before you even answer that, I will answer with the fact that we saw the version 1 of this earlier. Everybody that bought a version 1 of one of these things is getting upgraded to the version 2 with the improvements.
Yeah, they don't know it yet. Some of them know it, but
Well, they do now if they're watching this.
Yeah, well, that's
but,
true.
I mean, that tells me you're kind of giving a crap about customer
No,
service.
yeah, we've sold hundreds of these in the first month, and we found some ways to improve it. We've actually, this is actually the version 2.0, by the way. We've cut the amps by 4 amps. We've increased the cooling capacity by 14%. We've added a flow sensor so that when people disconnect from their shirt, the system shuts down and it sends error messages to the system. It has an auto restart function now in case your power drops below 10 volts, and it'll automatically come back on when everything's restored properly. So it's just a better system. It was a great system before, and now I think it's excellent.
So how about warranty?
Warranty is 18 months.
Okay.
And honestly, if the thing just breaks after 18 months, we're gonna take care of you. But it's designed to last 5 to 7 years. Just to be honest, it's designed to last 5 to 7 years. You'll probably get more out of it than that. Racing is it can be brutal, but also a lot of guys are only running 10, 20 times a year. Yeah. But it's designed to run 24/7 for 5 to 7 years. That's how it's been designed. Wow. Okay. So, but you got to think of the racing conditions. You got to think of the humidity, the rain.
It's designed to last 5 to 7 years. Yeah. In constant high demand operation.
I mean, and it's designed to get wet, not submerged, but we've designed the PCBA boards inside and everything to get, if you're ducting it and you get some water inside the unit, it's going to be okay. If you submerge it, it's not going to be okay. We'll know.
What type of are you seeing people breaking things consistently? Or
no.
Coming down to user
it's still new. I'm sure
we'll
start to see some stuff, but we've seen people. I think I told you we had a guy take this and install it like this in his car. And that was interesting. The compressor's fine,
which would work for the compressor, but not for the reservoir.
The reservoir is not going to work right. And he also did some knock ducts on both sides of the units, didn't put any blowers on it. He had it mounted to a floorboard that was 190 degrees, burned our hand when we tried to take the system out. They're just, those kind of things happen, So that's why I'm here today. Yeah. Right? We want to talk to people and make sure that they understand what the system's capable of, the limitations, what to make it work the best. It can work in any car. Yeah,
but even looking at the pieces, this is like aircraft grade power connectors, and when I look at this, I mean, yes, somebody racing a $2,000 Miata, $3,000 is a lot of money for a cooling system. But a comparable unit to this, something that does the same thing as this, the only other price point in the market out there is like an $8,000 system, right?
Right. In fact, one of our customers, I would say his name, Barry Bowes, great guy. He's whether he knows it or not, he's been helping us out a lot with just the development of even version 2.0. But he's got a Rennie system, which I think it was $8,500, $8,600. And it only cools down in his car to about 80 degrees. I think he said it will go to 75. It cools down to about 80, 85 degrees, which he said still feels good, and it helps regulate the temperature. But it's not. This is really cooling you down. Yeah. It's really refreshing. It's it makes it more comfortable. So he went from his Rennie system to this, and then I think the day after he ran it in the race, he called me and asked me to order another system. So he's running 2 of these in his cars right now.
That's awesome. All right, we gotta wrap things up here. I will take us out with a great justification from our friend Andrew Scott here. It's $3,000. But what would it cost to get heat stroke and put the car into a wall? And that's what we talked about earlier. You spend way more on other parts that make your car sound better or go lighter, go faster or are lighter. But you don't think about how much faster can I go if I'm comfortable. And that's something we talk about a lot on the show is spend time getting your seat molded to you, getting your steering wheel in the right place, getting your pedals in the right place, and making your body the right temperature so you make good decisions. Right. If you make good decisions, you will go faster. So we can all tough through it, and plenty of people have survived Sebring or Palm Beach Raceway in August, but I like going fast, and I like being comfortable, and this is where those things meet. So Charles, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We will Barry Bowes TA2 car in Texas. So he definitely knows he knows a little bit about heat. And that's it. We are caught up on questions. Thank you for participating tonight, everybody. Before you go, Remember, we are at the Nürburgring next week. Live stream on grassrootsmotorsports.com. Live stream of the race on Facebook, on YouTube. Please, if you're going to watch the race anywhere, don't watch some bootleg feed. Watch it on one of the Grassroots Motorsports outlets. That would mean a lot to us. And like and share when available. We'll have more details about that on our social media starting next week, and also on the website at grassrootsmotorsports.com. Thanks to everybody who participated tonight. If you want some free stickers from Grassroots Motorsports, I'm going to give you a website to go to. It is grassrootsmotorsports.com/free stickers. We'll ask for your mailing address, obviously, to send the stickers to, and your email, but we'll never send anything weird or creepy to it, just information about what's going on with the magazine, and, of course, free stickers. So do that. And, we're going to try this thing out at Daytona, August 4th. We have an event at Daytona. Just saying that, I feel like I want to turn this thing back on because it already feels hot, but I'm very excited about actually using this thing for an entire weekend and just hopping in and going boop and being comfortable all of a sudden. So thanks to Charles for making that possible. Also, give a shout out to our folks at CRC Industries, crcindustries.com on the web, or Lowe's, Home Depot, Harbor Freight, Walmart, Advanced Auto Parts, Napa, O'Reilly, any major store where you buy automotive chemicals. They're going to have that CRC stuff. You're going to get a great product. You're going to get brake clean. You're going to get freeze off. You're going to get power lube. You're going to get all that great CRC stuff. But you're also going to be helping out our hobby events like our $2,000 challenge, shows like this one, teams like James Clay's Bimmer World, all those folks that CRC supports to make this sport better. Also, our friends at Coney Shocks, coney-na.com on the web. If you're buying shocks for whatever you drive, tow vehicle, daily, fun car, track car, autocrosser, road racer, Coney's got shocks for it. Coney-na.com on the web, or places like Tire Rack can hook you up, and SPC Industries Specialty Performance Corporation. If you need control arms, camber kits, roll center adjusters, anything to provide your car with the optimal alignment, to be able to adjust that alignment for maximum performance, SPC has it. SPCalignment.com on the web. That's the show. Thanks very much to Charles Klein for stopping by. Thanks to Chris behind the camera tonight. Kevin and our new friend Mary is also here. If you're a potential Grassroots Motorsports advertiser, give her a call. She's the newest addition to our sales department. Glad you came by to check the show out tonight. And thanks very much to Colin, working the social media wherever he's doing that from. He could be under a pier somewhere for all I know. But Colin, thank you very much for doing this tonight. I'm JG Pasterjack. This is Grassroots Motorsports Live, presented by CRC Industries. We'll see you next week from Germany, everybody. Good night. I'm gonna remember to unplug myself here before I walk away and pull it off the table.
It's really fast.
I don't know about you, but
Huh?
I said I don't know about you.